you're in North or South Carolina or anywhere else in the world, enter the Cat Cave with Ryan Frick and Shannon Smith to listen to your favorite Carolina Panthers podcast as a part of the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, where you can find shows like Embrace Debate and Inside the Vault, and powered by the Fans First Sports Network, also over on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel, where you can also watch Believe in Panthers with Desmond Johnson and Johnathan Stewart. Ryan Frick here. Shannon, what's going on, bud? How you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Well, looks like we gotta discuss another heartbreaker.
Yeah, you're not kidding. You know, I think I said this on last week's show, and I've said this numerous times that a few years ago, the Detroit Lions were like the best 3-win team in NFL history. And I'm starting to get that feeling with these Carolina Panthers because they lose another stunner. And I say stunner to a 10-win team. The same way they kept up with the Kansas City Chiefs, they kept up with the Philadelphia Eagles, but ultimately fall short on the road in Philadelphia. Let's start on defense because if you look at the numbers on paper, the defense didn't look terrible. They held Jalen Hurts to under 200 total yards. I mean, this guy was looking like he had figured it out, and somehow here did not. I mean, Saquon Barkley averaged 6.2 yards per carry in this game. The week prior, Bucky Irving averaged 6.1. We're giving up about between 6 and 7 yards per carry to opposing running backs. So that's nothing crazy. But he only had 124 rushing yards, and we kept him out of the end zone just a mere few weeks after we talked about the fact that it's Saquon Barkley an MVP candidate. And then, your top two receivers both get 4 catches a pop with only one catching a touchdown. I mean, and then again, another 4-sack game for this defense. What did you see out of the defense that gives you hope for the now 3-10 Carolina Panthers?
The fact that their front four is playing really well. They were batting down passes. They were getting to Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts did not have a good passing game. I laughed because I was watching ESPN this morning, and Dan Orlovsky said that Philadelphia's passing game was elementary. It was very, very simple. And that was one of the reasons why the Carolina Panthers were able to get to them. They really didn't have, like, their passing scheme wasn't all that great. They didn't go down the field a lot, and it wasn't because they couldn't, but Carolina was able to make stops. They were able to disrupt the timing of the offense because, Philadelphia is a quick offense. They like to be quick, get to the line of scrimmage. They like to get on the line of scrimmage, get on the ball real quick, and they're all about timing. Carolina disrupted a lot of their timing, and that worked out really good in their favor because Carolina has found ways to get to the quarterback. Thank God. That's wonderful because I was one of those people that thought that the 3-4 was not good because they were not able to get pressure on the quarterback. But the way that Evero was moving those guys around is really disrupting a lot of defenses. And they're getting to the quarterback. They may not get to him right then, but they're getting there and they're disrupting the passing game. And that's what led to them almost winning.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there was a few times where the Panthers took leads in this game. They did trail at halftime, 14-10, but they would come out strong in the second half in the third quarter, get the go-ahead touchdown before ultimately giving up the lead a mere 4 or 5 minutes later, as Jalen Hurts hit a 4-yard touchdown pass. Yeah, I mean, the Panthers defense is right now what we expected the Panthers defense to be preseason, right? Like we figured, yeah, we lost a couple of pieces in the offseason, a couple of big pieces in the offseason, but we get Derek Brown, we get Shaq Thompson, we added some pieces, maybe J.C. Hornstein is healthy, and they put up a good year. We also go out and get a DJ Wanham and Jadeveon Clowney to go out and a Frankie Louvu. We make sure to we lost Frankie Louvu. Who am I thinking of? Oh my gosh, why am I drawing a total blank?
You talking about Shaq Thompson? You talking
No,
about Shaq?
we have another linebacker that's been able. It doesn't matter.
Oh.
we listen. We added pieces to this defense. A lot of them were been banged up early in the season. I think we're getting outside of our two best players that we have on defense. We're getting healthier now, and we're showing that we can keep up with these top tier NFL squads. I mean, you're looking at a 7-point or 6-point loss here to the 2 seed in the NFC
Yep.
at this current point in time. They needed a last second field goal to lose to the defending Super Bowl champion, one loss Kansas City Chiefs.
Hmm.
So the Panthers defense is keeping them in games, and the offense has got to do their part in order to secure victories. In this game, Bryce Young threw for under 200 passing yards. He also had an interception, his first interception in a few games here. Chuba Hubbard gets 92 yards on the ground, only averaging a little over 3 yards per carry over the last few weeks. He also did find the end zone, but Adam Thielen is starting to come back into form. There was a play in this game, and I'm going from hearsay and memory because unfortunately Sunday I was out doing some other stuff and didn't get to catch this game in its entirety. But I was told that Xavier Legette had a chance to catch a pass late in this game and got hit hard and the ball jarred loose. Listen, rookies are going to have these lapses. I mean, you've seen. I mean, names come to mind like Troy Williamson, where he never got it together. He was supposed to be the speedy guy to replace Randy Moss, and he couldn't catch a cold during a pandemic. Malik Neighbors has seen his ups and downs in New York. You've seen even some of the best receivers in the league have games where they're just not who we expect them to be. So the blame cannot fall entirely on Xavier Legette in that one catch. But what are you seeing out of the offense that sort of leaves something more to be desired? I mean, again, Bryce Young is being protected. He only got sacked once in this game. He's playing better than we've seen him play in his first year and a half in the league. But what do we need on offense to get us over this hump that can keep us consistent on the offensive side of the ball?
I would have to
Keep
say a true number one. Yeah, that'd be a true number one. True number one receiver. No disrespect to Adam Thielen, but more of a downfield presence in the passing game because Bryce wants to throw the deep ball. There's been times where he is wanting to throw the deep ball. Now they are making the offense a little more simpler for him, which has helped because they're not adding a lot of stuff to the offense, to overwhelm him. They're having him make very easy passes, very timely passes. Tommy Tremble has really stepped up as being one of Bryce's targets as well too as a tight end. He's stepped in really really well, and then of course Adam Thielen getting healthy. That to me, I think, is a downfield threat, and Xavier Legette is going to be that. He's going to be that downhill threat. He is a rookie. He's a young guy, and you were absolutely correct talking about the times that Malik Neighbors has had trouble. Marvin Harrison Jr. has had trouble as well too, doing some of the things that he's done as a young receiver as well. What I want, and plus also too, is the injuries is one thing, but you can't really coach that. That's something that happens. The fact that they lost Sanders at tight end, the fact that Johnathan got hurt again, and the ACL again that he hurt, and that was not good. Just a consistency in the offense is what we need, and it is getting there. This is a young squad. This is a squad that is manifesting right now. They went from being bottom of the barrel, they went from not doing well to being contenders in every game that they've played in the past 3 weeks. This squad needs time, and I think they're going to get that.
It's hard to believe that they're still not mathematically eliminated out of winning the NFC South. But you mentioned consistency and health on offense. Before we get into Johnathan Brooks, this is something that I'm throwing at you real quick. Did you see the news about Deontay Johnson over in Baltimore?
Yes, I did. I
mean, for those of you who have been living under a rock, Deontay Johnson refused to go in the fourth quarter of a game for the Ravens. And as a result, the Baltimore Ravens suspended him for a game for conduct detrimental to the team. Listen, I think some of us were upset when we saw that trade go down.
I was.
Even though technically with the pieces that we lost and gained in order to make those moves, would you agree that it's probably a good move that we let go of Deontay Johnson at this point?
Well, you got to look at it though, Ryan. What's happened since he's left? He started to win. They started to look good as a unit. Maybe he was doing something in the locker room. Maybe he was. I don't know. We don't know. But him deciding not to go in with the squad like the Ravens, and the Ravens are not out of it yet, even though they are not leading the AFC North like probably everyone thought that they would with some of the moves that they made. But Deontay Johnson said he wasn't going in. They wanted him to go in. He's like, no. So I don't know. I mean, something had to be going on in Carolina's locker room to the point where they dumped him off, and then now he's doing the same thing in the Ravens locker room, and they just decided saying we're not going to play this guy. Maybe this was a blessing in disguise. It's looking like it is.
Yeah, what's not a blessing is what happened to Johnathan Brooks, the rookie running back who just made his debut a few short weeks ago. Goes down to a non-contact injury in this game, and it is confirmed that he has retorn the ACL that ended his college career at Texas, that caused him to have such a delayed debut in the NFL this season. Unlikely to be ready for the start of the 2025 season. We talked about this offense getting healthy and staying consistent. Miles Sanders has been the backup without Johnathan Brooks. Miles Sanders is banged up. I don't believe he's played in the last few games. Obviously, being his rookie year, and he's only played like 4 games, you don't want to say that Johnathan Brooks was the wrong move, because he looked electric in times when he was on the field. What are your expectations from Johnathan Brooks going forward, in a sense of, do you expect him to struggle with confidence? Do you expect him to sort of be hesitant in order to plant that leg and make those cuts when he inevitably comes back from his second ACL tear? What are your expectations from Johnathan Brooks once he returns to action sometime later next season?
My expectations are for him to be patient. For him to be patient, because Nick Chubb had this happen with him, and Nick Chubb is not doing a bad job in Cleveland. He's had his time, his growing pains, his injuries as well too. But I don't expect for him to be thrusted out there. Like, he's not the featured back, which is good because Chuba is the featured back. And why would he not be with how well he's done? And shout out to Chuba for 1,000 yards rushing this year. He eclipsed that first time in his career. Very well done. Good job.
Earning that paycheck, earning that extension.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you've been begging for that man to get paid, and so have I. And he got what he deserved, and he is earning it, and good job for him. But Brooks just needs patience. I mean, he needs to be patient. He can't be as explosive yet until he knows that he nurses his injury and that he takes care of himself. That's my main goal for him, is take care of himself. And he'll get to the football later.
Yeah, it breaks my heart knowing, and again, it's a much different situation, but watching what happened, and again, I'm going to homer out here for a second. Apologies for you non-South Carolina fans. Watching what happened to the career of Marcus Lattimore when you see his injury happen at South Carolina. I was at that game. Going back and rewatching that video, I still believe that it was a dirty hit, and it's one of the reasons why I have such disdain for the University of Tennessee. But watching a guy that really could have been a stud and really could have been something in the NFL, to see his career cut short, you see a lot of guys that go through these injuries and what it does to them mentally. And obviously Marcus Lattimore tried to come back. He couldn't practice without his knee swelling up real bad, so he had to call it quits in the NFL. But then on the other hand, you look at a guy like Nick Chubb, who I believe has had 3 ACL tears in his career. He got hurt at Georgia. I believe he tore his second ACL again last season on the same knee. And it was a pretty brutal injury. I mean, when I saw his injury last year, it looked as serious as Marcus Lattimore's injuries did in college. Yet Nick Chubb, granted, wasn't ready for the start of the season, and he's a little older now too. But seeing him able to come back and finding his first touchdown after he returned from injury was sort of like, okay, this dude got to go out and do what he wants. I hope a guy like Nick Chubb reaches out to a guy like Johnathan Brooks, despite the fact that they didn't play for the same college teams. But considering so many of these running backs in the NFL go through these just devastating, heartbreaking injuries. I hope somebody reaches out to this kid and says, listen, we saw we saw what you did at Texas. We saw what you were capable of doing in Carolina. This is just a setback. All it's doing is setting you up for a comeback. Like Shannon just said, take your time, get right up here. The football will get right on its own. It's not like you've been playing football for God knows how long. So I just, thoughts go out to him. I mean, it's what a tough break. I haven't seen anything that would elude me to think that this kid's not a good kid. So speedy recovery for Johnathan Brooks. Hopefully he can recover as well as he did for the last one. And we can see his true potential and see him live out his dream playing in the NFL. Having said that, considering that I think in the offseason, I feel that Miles Sanders is probably going to be one of those guys that are traded away. I mean, there's a growing sense of teams not worrying about eating salary cap money, like what the New York Giants did with Daniel Jones, and years prior to that, what the Buffalo Bills did with Ryan Fitzpatrick. You would expect the way that the Browns, also, albeit in losses, the Browns are playing better with Jameis Winston at the helm. You wonder when is going to be time for them to decide to go ahead. Like his being Deshaun Watson, his contract was all guaranteed. So I don't know what they're going to be able to do. They're eventually going to have to eat some cap space to let go of Deshaun Watson. But like, what do you foresee the running game looking like next year, considering Brooks will probably not be ready until at least midseason? Do you expect Miles Sanders to be back next year? Do you think they're not going to pay two running backs the $10 million a year type deal in Carolina, and they're gonna go shop Miles Sanders or outright cut him? And do you think there's a chance the Panthers go after another running back in the draft?
I don't see Miles Sanders coming back. I do have a hot take, and I'm probably going to get eggs thrown at me.
Please, let's hear it.
But if the Panthers have the first, they're more than likely they're going to have within the top 10 of picks. There's a guy out there by the name of Ashton Genty that could possibly win the Heisman Trophy this year. If he's one of those best available players out there, why not grab him? The line looks good. The line looks like they are going to move defenders for Chuba Hubbard, who ran for 1,000 yards this year. Why not get someone like Ashton Genty? That is, if he is not around. And I know that there are teams that are very iffy about picking a running back early in the draft, but how early is early? Atlanta picked Bijan Robinson up early in the draft. And Bijan Robinson was a very good running back at Texas. And more than likely, Ashton Genty's probably going to finish either 1 or 2 for the Heisman Trophy. The man ran all over the place, and he could break Barry Sanders' record. Imagine having someone like Ashton Genty running behind a upstart line like the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
Get him groomed into playing professional football with a great running back in Chuba Hubbard. Chuba's ran his tail off, and he deserves his money. He's going to get his money for the next couple of years. Why not have another running back in the waiting in the wings? Waiting behind him and getting him started. I think Ashton Genty would be wonderful. That is, if he doesn't get picked up early, or if the Panthers don't get cold feet.
Yeah, I like the Ashton Genty pick. I love Ashton Genty. He's an undersized back. Like, he's not like a like old school Steven Jackson. He's not like a Derrick Henry type back. Let's say this. I would love to see Ashton Genty in a Panther uniform, primarily because I would hate to see him in the uniform of, let's say, a New Orleans Saint, who is probably going to have a high draft pick as well.
Yes.
The New York Giants are going to need a quarterback, but they're probably also going to try to be making up for letting Saquon walk in the offseason.
And
they're probably going to.
And the Raiders are too. The Raiders will too.
Yeah, the Raiders may be looking at a running back. I can't even think of who they're starting. Oh, Zamir White. The Raiders need a quarterback. The Raiders are going to wind up
back. That's what they're wanting. Yeah. They're either wanting Shador or they want Cam Ward.
Yeah, I would imagine Shador Sanders is going to be in Vegas next year, which means that unless he rolls around to the second round, if somebody's going to get him in the first, Ashton Genty could go early. Yeah, I don't see it happening.
Ah,
Primarily because you've got Blackshear on the back end. You've obviously got Brooks that you want to get healthy. But like hypothetically, you just signed Chuba to a long contract. Miles Sanders is probably going to be paying to leave. And so I don't know if they would want Genty just to come in just to hold it over until Johnathan Brooks gets healthy again. Because like you've got a second year and a rookie along with a veteran that 4 or 5 year veteran that you just paid. How are all the mouths going to get fed? I
or
would.
if that is too much for you, wait around about a second or third round and go for Cam Scatterbo.
I'm not a fan of Cam Scatterbo. This is
What?
me. Yeah,
No.
it's a personality thing. Like I just.
Oh man.
But I will tell you who I think would. Now listen, with the with the what's the word I'm looking for? A proclivity to draft kids that are close to the in the Carolinas. I don't think it'd be a bad thing to go out and get a guy like Rocket Sanders out of South Carolina. I
Rocket
mean, dude,
played well. He
he,
played well. He played well,
yeah,
man.
I don't think he may have hit 1,000 yards this season, but at times, like he will. There was the play against in the Missouri game that gave the Gamecocks the lead in the fourth quarter with 14 seconds to go, and he willed himself into the end zone. He just put a couple of guys on his back and just carried him in. So after a catch, before I get hate mail, he didn't run the ball. He got a pass. I get it. But like if you're looking for a guy who can enter the mix and at least be a depth piece, I think you can do worse than Rocket Sanders, especially if you're not going to spend the investment and go out and get an Ashton Genty. Interesting to see. I don't necessarily think they go after a running back in the draft. I think there might be somebody in free agency they get again just to hold over. I think they've got high hopes for Johnathan Brooks, but I will tell you this: if Johnathan Brooks comes back next year and gets hurt, potentially hypothetically hurts the same knee again, I wouldn't be surprised if Johnathan Brooks hung it up.
Yeah.
Because coming back from those injuries, not only doesn't do a lot up here because you get hurt, but the grind that it takes to get back is not an easy thing to do, both psychologically and physically. So I think what's the old wrestling phrase go? It ain't over. No, that's not a wrestling phrase. It ain't over till it's over.
Who knows?
Never say never. Anyway. All right, the Carolina Panthers get another opponent out of the NFC East this weekend as the 5-8 Dallas Cowboys come to town to take on the 3-10 Carolina Panthers. If you can believe this, Shannon, the Carolina Panthers are a 3-point home favorite against the 5-win Dallas Cowboys. This is a time when I wish that our old friend Michael Davis was still on the show. Sunday, 1 o'clock kickoff over on Fox, Bank of America Stadium. Shannon, can we finally pull out a win and get a win over the Cowboys this week?
To be honest with you, I really think so. I'm trying my hardest not to, the homerism again, because I have a big disdain for the Dallas Cowboys. I really do. But the Dallas Cowboys are having trouble at the quarterback position per se.
Yeah.
But more than anything, they're having trouble on the defensive side of the ball. Is where they're having the most trouble. They can't stop the run, which I expect for Chuba Hubbard to get his yards, earn his money, earn his paycheck yet again. But another thing also too is this Carolina defense can get to the quarterback now. And so I expect for them to get to the quarterback. I expect for them to win this week. I expect for them to do it because of the defense I think is going to show why they're playing so well, their ability to get to the quarterback. I do expect for the Carolina Panthers to win. Now I'm hoping that doesn't jinx. I'm hoping that it doesn't because we said that Philadelphia was going to be tough, and we said that Tampa Bay was going to be tough, and Kansas City was going to be tough, and Carolina hung in there with all three of those squads. I expect for them to pull the win off. I think the light bulb's gonna go off. I think they're going to do it.
I like the Panthers to win here. My only concern is the fact, first of all, Cooper Rush is not Dak Prescott. As
No.
much as Jerry Jones might like you to believe as such. But in their game against the Bengals and that 27-20 loss against the Bengals, Rico Dowdle ran for 131 yards, 7.3 yards a carry in that game against the Bengals, who have also struggled defensively this season. But if anything, if there's one thing that I'm concerned about is the Dallas Cowboys' proclivity to run the ball, the need to do so. And if they have another game like they had out of Rico Dowdle, also a former Gamecock, just have to throw that out there because I can't not do it. But if they're gonna expect Rico Dowdle to have another game like that, then the Cowboys are gonna hang into this game. I mean, you still got CeeDee Lamb to account for, but without a guy like Dak Prescott throwing on the ball, he's not so much of the threat. He did have in his loss last week 6 catches, 93 yards, and a touch for CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, I mean, I think if Carolina can figure out how to run the ball, I'm looking at the Bengals here. Chase Brown averaged 4.1 a carry, only had 14 carries, but Joe Burrow threw the ball 44 times against the Cowboys. I don't think Bryce Young is going to throw 44 times against the Cowboys. So it's going to be the fun matchup is going to be to watch is Chuba Hubbard versus Rico Dowdle. Run game versus run game. Who's going to be able to control the clock? Who's going to be able to control the game? And who's going to be able to grind it out to get the win? And I think the Panthers finally do. I mean, listen, they've been trying to put it together every single week. They, for all intents and purposes, should have beaten the Bucs 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Very well could have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs. Very well should have beaten the Philadelphia Eagles. So I like them to finally get over that hump. It might be the last win they get this year, but I do see them knocking off the Dallas Cowboys this weekend. Shannon, anything you want to add before we sign off here tonight?
Want to add that, once again, congratulations to Chuba Hubbard on 1,000 yards this year. But let's just beat them daggum Cowboys, man. We got to do it. Our guys got to do it, man. If there's one win that I want this year, it's got to be against the Cowboys.
Yes, I would love the Panthers to knock off the Cowboys for so many reasons. My sister is a Cowboys fan. The guy that used to co-host the show is a Cowboys fan, has his own Cowboys show now. I just want to tweet out from the Cat Cave's social media this weekend. So are we them boys now? Like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do.
Yes.
If you want to find Shannon over on social media, he is on X and Instagram at podcast_Smitty. You can find me on social media at Tapouts and TDs on X, on Facebook.com/Tapouts and Touchdowns, and on Instagram at Ryan Frick Comedy. But make sure you follow the Cat Cave on all social media. Facebook.com/The Cat Cave FFSN. Instagram and X over at the Cat Cave _FFSN. But until next week, you may now exit the Cat Cave. But make sure you listen to more content on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio Network and over on their YouTube channel, and more Carolina Panthers themed podcasts on the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, powered by the Fans First Sports Network. For Shannon Smith, I'm Ryan Frick, and we'll see you next week right back here inside the Cat Cave.
Go Panthers.